Jananam sukadham maranam karunam milanam maduram smaranam karunam kalavasyadeha sakalam karunam samayadipate akilam karunam. Good evening everyone. I said good evening. Those in the upper regions, you're in talking terms with me? Joy, to be peaceful and joyful. A whole lot of people, even so-called spiritual leaders in the world, are going about propagating that peace of mind is the ultimate goal of your life. I want to ask you, tonight if you want to enjoy your dinner, even if you're not ecstatic, at least you must be peaceful and joyful, isn't it? Hello? Whenever I need, I'll seek a higher opinion. If you want to enjoy this handful of people who are around you in the form of family or work or whatever, at least you must be peaceful and joyful, isn't it? If you want to enjoy a walk on the street, you must be peaceful and joyful. So I'm asking you, to be peaceful, to be joyful, is it the ultimate goal of your life or is it the most fundamental requirement? But a whole lot of people are saying it is the ultimate goal of your life. Such people will only rest in peace. Is there anybody here who's not known a single moment of joy in your life? Now you cannot be here because if there was not a single moment of joy in your life, you wouldn't be alive right now. You would have found no reason to be alive. There are moments of joy. That means you know how to be joyful. If you were given a choice between being joyful and miserable for yourself, what you want for your neighbor may be debatable. But for yourself, if you have a choice between being joyful and miserable, what is your choice? Make a choice, I'm going to bless you. Joyful and miserable, what's the choice? Joy. So you want to be joyful, you know how to be joyful. But, see, if you know how to be joyful and you want to be joyful, why do you need a yogi to guide you? Yes, I want to be joyful, but to kick that butt, you need a yogi. There is nobody who does not want to be joyful. There is nobody who does not know how to be joyful. But, shall we kick that butt? One butt means we could kick it off. There are too many butts. If I have to be joyful, my wife should become like this, my husband should become like this, the world has to change, and we must have a new president. Endless amount of buts. Being joyful is not the goal, it is the basic requirement. Today there is substantial medical and scientific data to show you that only when you're pleasant within yourself will your body and brain work at its best. You know this by experience, isn't it? Yes? You know this by experience, but you don't trust your experience anymore, you need data. There is substantial data, you can check it out, that if you are really pleasant within yourself, your body and your brain works at its best. There are some studies which show that for 24 hours, that is one full day, if you spend one full day without a moment of irritation, agitation, anger, anxiety, nothing, just joyful, your ability to use your intelligence may go up by 100%. You could do with that, isn't it? Hello? Can't all of us do with little more? Little more sensiness, can't all of us do with it? Can't the world do with it, I'm asking you? But the problem is, most of the time human beings are going through circus within their own mind. When I first arrived in United States a few years ago, wherever I went, people were talking about stress management. I could not understand why would anybody want to manage stress. Because in my understanding, we manage things which are precious to us. Our family, our business, our wealth, our money, whatever is precious to us. Why would anybody want to manage stress? It took me a while to grasp that people have assumed that stress is a part of their life. Stress is not a part of your life, it's your inability to manage your own mind. It amazes me, people live here for 20, 30, 60 years and they still don't know how to manage their thought and emotion. This is like, you heard of Charles Darwin? Hello? In Illinois, you have no issues with him? I'm asking you, we are from Tennessee, so I'm asking you. We got some problems with him. I'll make this very simplistic. Charles Darwin said something like this, a deer could have become a giraffe over many million years. A pig could have become an elephant over many more million years. And a monkey became human rather quickly. So quickly that anthropologists think that there is a missing link somewhere. No, I'm sorry, you're on the second stage, I thought you were on the trees. I'm just being nasty. They're saying that the DNA difference between you and a chimpanzee is only 1.23%. 1.23% is not much of a difference, isn't it? Yes, physiologically, that is how close we are to a chimpanzee, just 1.23%. But in terms of our intelligence and awareness, we are worlds apart from a chimpanzee. And this is our problem, this is an evolutionary problem, that you have an intelligence for which you don't have a stable enough base. So your own intelligence freaks you all the time. To be peaceful has become such a big challenge. Essentially, you don't know how to handle your cerebral capability. Yes? See, please see, what is it that you're suffering? If you're suffering something, what is it that you suffer? What happened 10 years ago, you still suffer. What may happen day after tomorrow, you already suffer. Yes. What you are suffering is a phenomenal capability of memory and imagination. This is what you're suffering. Or in other words, you're suffering that which does not exist. If one is suffering that which does not exist, I will not label you, but you can ask any medical professional, they will say you are a case. Yes or no? If you suffer something that's not here, that means you're a case, yes? And please see, most of the time that's all it is. Yes? The only and only misery in human life is not happening the way you think it should happen. And what you think, is it straight? Every day it's hopping from one thing to another. If everything that you thought happened, you would be in a total mess. Fortunately, many things have not happened. From morning to evening, whatever comes to your mind, if all of it happens in your life, could you live here? Are you not glad it's not happening? Now the problem is, you are inventing ghosts in your mind and then trying to fight it. And of course, a whole industry has come up, professional ghostbusters. This happened. An Indian man came to California many years ago. Of course, he came as a technology person. Then he started dabbling with some investments and then he started playing the stock market. Somewhere 97 or 98, he had a windfall. He made a huge amount of money. He was already over 60 years of age. Just a year or two ago, at the right time, he had gotten his divorce. He was alone, over 60 years of age and a huge amount of money. He wanted to spend as much money upon himself as he could. So he bought himself a 1932 Ferrari for $36 million. He bought a Beverly Hills home for $80 million. Like this, he went about splurging upon himself. Then he needed a medical test. So in Northern California, there are medical institutions which are swankier than seven-star hotels. So he got himself into that. This is not some dreary medical test in one day. One full fortnight, resort-like atmosphere, where at your own pace, you can choose your tests and go through. So everything was fine, they appointed a very pretty-looking young woman as his nurse, he was enjoying the whole experience of it. On the fourth day evening, he was feeling so relaxed, he was lying on the bed. Unfortunately, what should happen in the toilet happened on the bed. He felt very embarrassed, he didn't know how to handle this mess. He was just looking at this, how to deal with this mess on the bed. Just then he heard this young lady coming towards his room. Fortunately in America, young ladies don't walk quietly, they come talk, 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 talk. This is a man's design. So he did not want this young lady to see the mess on the bed. So he didn't know what to do, there was no time, so he just picked up all the sheets and threw it out of the fifth floor window. Down below, a regular man was just going home from a party. It's such an unfair world. A man is expected to walk on a round planet and the damn thing is spinning all the time. With great difficulty, he was walking sideways and going home. You know what I'm talking about. He was slowly reaching towards his home sideways. Just then the sheets came and covered him. And he screamed and yelled and fought with the sheets violently. It took him over 2 minutes to get the sheets down. By then the security heard all this commotion and they came rushing. He was standing there dazed, looking down at the sheets on the sidewalk. They asked, "What happened here?" He said, "It looks like I've beaten the shit out of a ghost." Now, you invent your own ghost and you fight it. What's happening in your mind is your business, yes or no? Hello? But right now, Most minds, 90% of the minds on the planet are in a state of mental diarrhea. Simply it's going. See, right now, my hand, if I want it goes here, if I don't want it'll sit here. This is a good hand. Suppose this hand starts jumping all over the place. What would you think? Some ailment, isn't it? Yes or no? Some Mr. Somebody. If this is happening with your mind, is this also some kind of an ailment? Hello? It's just large scale, that's all. All the time this is jumping all over the place. It can be not a useful mind, it can be a nuisance. The only thing that human beings are suffering is what is happening within them, isn't it? When was the last time that somebody poked you with a dagger? Even though you're living in Chicago. No? They never poked you? They ignored you. I'm asking, how much suffering has come to you from outside? Minuscule, isn't it, if anything has come? The rest is all self-help. The problem is just this, you have a super computer, but you don't even bother to read the user's manual. Do you agree with me? This is the most sophisticated gadget on the planet? Do you agree with me? More sophisticated than the number 7 which is coming? One number 7 came and it's bursting, another number 7 is coming, they can come and go. But this is the most sophisticated gadget on the planet, yes or no? But you don't even read the user's manual. The moment you're born, people are telling you, what will you become in the world, conquer the world, do this, do that. But human beings are such a mess simply because they have not taken charge of their own faculties. If your body and your mind takes instructions from you, how would you keep yourself? Highest level of pleasantness or unpleasantness? What would you choose for yourself? Highest level of pleasantness. When I say pleasantness, if the body becomes pleasant, we call this health. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it pleasure. If the mind becomes pleasant, we call this peace. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it joy. If your emotions become pleasant, we call this love. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it compassion. If your very life energies become pleasant, we call this blissfulness. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it ecstasy. If your surroundings become pleasant, we call this success. Only to create pleasantness in our surroundings, we need the cooperation of many people and forces around us. But for the pleasantness of the body, pleasantness of the mind, pleasantness of our emotions and our energies, 100% your business, yes or no? I want to be happy, but my mother-in-law. People come to me and say, Sadhguru, my mother-in-law, she's a creature. And my husband, after all, her son. My wife, she's impossible. My boss, he's not even human. Like this, various kinds of complaints. I tell them, don't bother, you come here, come to the yoga center, I will make sure your mother-in-law, husband, wife, boss, nobody has entry, just you. I will give you a nice place to stay and give you good food. Nothing to do, just be joyful, that's all. We'll take care of you forever. Only thing is, I will make random checks on you. If I find you miserable, I don't believe in feeding misery. You leave them in one place for 24 hours. In how many ways they twist themselves out is unbelievable. When you're alone, if you're miserable, you're obviously in bad company, isn't it? I'm with you and I'm miserable. I can say it's because of him I'm miserable. I'm alone and I'm miserable. This is bad company, isn't it? If we don't fix this, wherever we go, we are hankering to be peaceful, we are hankering to be happy. I know it is enshrined in your constitution in pursuit of your happiness. If you don't change this, if you remain in pursuit of your happiness, I want you to understand, in pursuit of human happiness, we have turned the world upside down. We have engineered the world in a million different ways. 100 years ago, if you happened to be here and today you came here, you wouldn't even recognize the planet. Yes or no? With all this fixing of the world, much comfort and convenience has definitely come our way, there's no question about it. We are the most comfortable generation ever. Do you agree with me? I'm seeking a higher opinion. We are definitely the most comfortable generation ever. These kind of comforts and conveniences no generation ever knew. What even royalty could not have 100 years ago, today ordinary citizens have, isn't it? All of you driving chariots with 200, 400 horses, aren't you? But can we claim we are the most joyful generation? Can you even say, 100 years ago how happy people might have been, how peaceful they might have been? Are you in a better state? Maybe about the same, but definitely not better, isn't it? I wouldn't say worse, but not significantly better for all the things we have done to ourselves, isn't it? Fixing the world, fixing the world, fixing the world, if you fix it anymore, there'll be no world. To that extent we fixed it. But still, we're in pursuit of our happiness. This is because the wrong direction of pursuit, in the sense. Can all of you see me, even if you're not listening to me, can you see me? Can you use one hand and point out where I am? No, you got it wrong, you know I'm a mystic. Now this light is falling upon me, reflecting, going through your lenses, inverted image in the retina. You know the entire story? Where do you see me right now? Within yourself. Where do you hear me right now? Within yourself. Where have you seen the whole world? Within yourself. Have you ever seen anything outside of yourself? Have you ever experienced anything outside of yourself? Everything that ever happened to you, light and darkness happens within you, pain and pleasure happens within you, joy and misery happens within you, agony and ecstasy happens within you. Just about anything that ever happened to you happened within you. All human experience is happening from within you. At least what happens within you must happen your way, isn't it? What happens within you must happen your way. The world will never happen your way 100%. And I'm glad it is so. Because if the world happened entirely your way, where do I go? I'm glad it's not happening your way. Little bit your way, little bit my way, little bit somebody else's way, it's okay. The world should be like that. But this 1% must happen your way, isn't it? Because your situation in the world is like this. Has anybody in your life, anybody, ever happened 100% the way you want them? Anybody happened? Your parents, did they happen 100% the way you want them? No? Your children, no hope? Your spouse, your friend, your partner, anybody happen 100% your way? If they're happening 51% your way, you have the controlling stake, you must just enjoy that. You try to push towards 100%, they're gone. Yes, if you try to push towards 100% your way, nobody will be around you, that's about it. So nobody happens 100% your way. Up there, is there anybody such a hopeless romantic, you're still hoping you'll find that person who will be 100% the way you want them? See, I've lived long enough, believe me. There is no such person. 100% your way person doesn't exist, not even your dog. If you fell back, ultimately when everything else failed, you have fallen back to the dog as the cleanest love affair you can have. It is true, you have a 12 years guaranteed love affair, but these days they do their own thing. Even he doesn't happen 100% your way. So nobody happens your way. This is not the problem. This one is not happening your way. This is the problem, isn't it? If this one person happened your way, would you keep him joyful or miserable? Joyful. Instead of life being in pursuit of happiness, if your life was an expression of joy, then this life is very different. Right now, because for you to be happy, entire world has to be rejigged, and by the time it's rejigged, you want something else. Yes or no? Do you see this happening? You want this to happen. By the time that happens, you want something else to happen. Wherever you are in your life, whatever you may be in your life, is it true you want to be something more? Hello? If that something more happens, something more. If that something more happens, something more, I can go on like this. So it looks like you want expansion, limitless expansion. So let's say we will make you the king or queen of this world, of this planet. Don't look at me hopefully. Do I look like someone who will commit such a blunder? If you become the king or queen of this planet, will you be fulfilled or will you look at the stars? You will look at the stars, isn't it? If I give you one galaxy, you will look at the other galaxy. This is the nature of being human, because no matter where you are, no matter what it is, you want to be something more. But actually, it is not more you're seeking, you want a limitless expansion, you want infinite expansion, but unfortunately, you are going in installments. It's a little constipated approach. Your desire is great, you want to expand infinitely, but unnecessary constipation. Small expansion. This is finding expression in so many ways, in everything that you do, this is all you're doing. In some way, you're trying to extend your boundary. If it finds a very simple, basic physical expression, this is called sexuality. What you're trying to do is, that which is not you, you're trying to make it a part of you. If it finds an emotional expression, we'll call it love. Again the same thing, that which is not you, you're trying to make it a part of you. If it finds a mental expression, it gets labeled as greed, ambition, conquest, or simply shopping. Something that is not you, you're trying to make it a part of you. If it finds a conscious, successful expression, then we say this is yoga. When I say yoga, I'm not talking about twisting and turning. The word yoga means union. In some way, you obliterated the boundaries of your physical existence. Right now, as you sit here, this is me, that is you. Yes? Distinctly, boundaries are set. Shall I say something about myself, is it okay? Okay? This September, it was 34 years. And 34 years ago, I grew up not in any kind of spiritual traditions or any kind of religious atmosphere. Religion was never imposed upon us, no spirituality in me, absolutely. I grew up to be a skeptic, super skeptic about everything, because I had a million questions hanging around me always, and I didn't find one person who could sensibly answer. Everybody is pointing towards an authority, but nobody has the truth. they're all trying to say, authority is the truth, which never worked for me. For me, truth is the only authority. But there was nobody to… really I went all over the place looking, but nobody could give a sensible answer. Everybody quotes somebody else who is dead long ago. So I became a super skeptical about everything. So when you become so skeptical, somewhere within you, you also become aloof. I'm very engaged with society around me, very active in the world, but within myself very aloof. Then this restlessness of wanting to find something initially made me cycle around South India, then I motorcycled, crisscrossed India a few times. National borders always stopped me and I didn't like it. So I came back determined I will make necessary documents to cross the national borders and make enough money so that I can just ride away. Planet is round and simply ride away somewhere. So I started a business, became very successful, started one more, half a dozen businesses going. In a short span of time, I was far more successful than people would normally expect in a brief period of time. Not like today, somebody makes $1 billion in 3 months, not that kind of success, but for those days, for brick and mortar business, successful. So everything that I do is working well and all people around me are clapping their hands and say, "You're great." Slowly the planets are beginning to revolve around me. They left the sun and they were going around me. So super skeptical and slowly becoming very cocky. Because everything that you do is working and you kind of… this. So one afternoon between 2 business meetings, I didn't have nothing much to do. Is there anybody familiar with Mysore city? Whoa, not bad. So this is a small little culturally rich city in southern India and there's a hill, it's called the Chamundi Hill. As I grew up in this city, right from my childhood, if I want to trek, we trek Chamundi Hills, we want to camp, we camp Chamundi Hills. When I grew up, we want to test our motorcycles up the hill. If you want to party, Chamundi Hill. If you fall in love, we have to go up Chamundi Hill. If we fall out, again we have to go Chamundi Hill. If you have nothing to do, Chamundi Hill. So that afternoon I had 1.5 to 2 hours break, I had nothing much to do. So without even thinking, I just rode up Chamundi Hill, because I would rarely get off my motorcycle. So, just went up Chamundi Hill. So parked somewhere halfway up and as I know the hill very well, I climbed up a little bit and sat on a rock. My eyes were still open. Till that moment, I thought, this is me and that is somebody. I have no issues with that somebody, but I have no business either. This is me, that's somebody else. Being peaceful and happy has not been an issue, everything is working out well, you're young and there's really no issue as such. I'm just sitting there with my eyes open. Suddenly I did not know which is me and which is not me. What was me was just all over the place. The very rock on which I was sitting, the air that I was breathing, the atmosphere around me, what was me had just exploded all over the place. I thought, this madness lasted for about 10–15 minutes. When I came back to my normal senses, it was about 4.5 hours gone by. For the first time in my adult life, tears. Me and tears were impossible. I was like that. But here, tears for the entire 4.5 hours, my shirt is all wet. As I sit there, every cell in my body is exploding with ecstasy. I'm just dripping ecstasy. I stayed like this for a few days. And when I shook my head and asked my skeptical mind, what could be happening to me? My mind said, maybe you're going off your rocker. So I consulted a few close friends, what could be happening to me? Something is happening to me. They said, come on, what did you drink? What did you pop? You know. So I knew there was no context anywhere around me for what was happening within. All I knew is, I've hit a gold mine, I don't want to miss it for a moment. So as I sat like this, dripping ecstasy, time would just flip. I think it's 2 minutes, 7, 8 hours gone by. I think it's just a few minutes or an hour, days have gone by. Sometimes I sat in the same place unmoving for days on end, not even knowing it is days. Then I thought, this is it. I discovered within myself, if I don't mess with my mind, if I can keep my hand out of my mind, this is it, I will burst with ecstasy. Then I made a plan. The fool that I was on that day, I made a plan. In the next 2.5 to 3 years, I will make the entire world ecstatic. I gotten it, I got it. This is it. See, 34 years. 34 years. Well, we have touched a little over 100 million people, but that is not my idea of the world. The world is 7.3 billion people. Slowly over years of continuous and hopeless failure, I slowly discovered people have invested in their misery and they are not willing to withdraw their investment no matter how much misery it causes them. Yes? Otherwise, it's just your mind. Right now, you can think what you want, isn't it? Hello? You can think what you want, but how much pain and misery people are causing to themselves, within themselves, is unbelievable. I don't know to what extent you are exposed to human misery. Every day I'm meeting thousands and thousands of people. Unbelievable variety of misery people are manufacturing for themselves. Tell me one thing that human beings are not suffering. If they are poor, they suffer their poverty. Make them rich, they suffer the taxes. They're not educated, they suffer that. Put them to school, endless suffering. Not married, they suffer that. Get them married. I didn't say anything. I did not say anything, okay? No children, they suffer that. Give them children, daily suffering. Tell me one aspect of life that human beings are suffering. If they do something, they'll suffer. If they don't do anything, they'll suffer. This happened in 1924. There was a bishop in the Greek Orthodox community. You know Greek Orthodox? Not much in the United States, I think. You are. Can I tell you something? Is it okay? So, Greek Orthodox community has their own pope in Istanbul. Generally they believe they are the only true Christians, rest are no good. They have a belief that they are the real followers of Christianity, others are whatever. So they have their own pope and their own establishment in Istanbul. Being in Istanbul, on the Silk Route, all kinds of mystical stories have been wafting across Bosphorus for a long time. So this bishop, from an early age, he had heard so many mystical, magical stories from India, he always wanted to go there. But being a man of cloth, he could not decide where to go and where not to go. Over 60 years of age, now semi-retired, he got an opportunity to go to southern India. He wants to meet a genuine mystic, he wants to meet a real yogi, not stories. So he went and asked around, somebody guided him, you go up this mountain, there in a cave there is a yogi, he is the man you want to meet. So our bishop made the journey up the mountain. Mountains know no kindness, okay? They are not kind to you. They will expose you like anything. You should see all kind of heroes who come with me to trek in Tibet and Nepal. Suddenly the strong men will just collapse because mountains are not kind. So he was not built for mountains and he struggled, huffed, puffed, got there. Then he saw this yogi sitting in front of the cave. The yogi was sitting blissed out. He saw him and he had heard that when you see a yogi, you must prostrate. But there were obstructions. So with great difficulty he went down, balanced on his belly and scraped himself, and somehow huffing puffing he sat down. Hearing all this commotion, the yogi opened his eyes and smiled. Immediately the bishop asked, "Can I ask you a question?" The yogi said, "By all means." The bishop asked, "What is life?" You should have asked this question when you were 8. Yes, what is life? If you missed it in your play or in your playfulness, at least when you were 16, when there was so much confusion about many things, you should have asked the damn question, what is life? But now over 60, but it's good, because so many went to their grave without ever asking a question. At least you're asking the question now, it's great. When he asked this question, what is life, the yogi went into raptures. He said, life is like the fragrance of jasmine upon gentle spring breeze. The bishop looked at him like this, what? Life is like fragrance of jasmine upon gentle spring breeze? My teacher told me life is like a thorn. Once it gets into you, if you sit it hurts, if you lie down it hurts, if you stand up it hurts. If you do something it hurts, if you don't do something it hurts. And you are saying life is like the fragrance of a jasmine upon gentle spring breeze? The yogi smiled and said, well, that's his life. This life is not about the situations in which you exist. It is the situation within you which determines the quality of your life, right? Now only monkeys will happen. To this mind somebody taught you, do not think about bad things. Well, that's a full-time job. Because if you say, I don't want something, only that will happen in your mind, isn't it? I'm saying, without understanding the fundamentals of the nature of our own faculties, we are trying to somehow blunder through life. We have good intentions, of course. We've always been trying to produce good people on the planet. This has been the biggest mistake. Right now, you say, I'm a good man. How I became good is, he's not okay, she's not okay, he's not okay, she's not okay, he's not okay. Compared to these people, I'm a good man. Suppose you were the only person on this planet, would you know whether you're good or bad? Hello? But you would still know whether you're joyful or miserable, isn't it? Have you noticed when you're joyful, you're very generous, very flexible, you're willing to do anything that is needed in your life? Yes? Little, slightly depressed, can we get you going? Huh? That will take a lot of gas to get you going, isn't it? When you're little miserable, very difficult to move you. You're joyful, you're willing to jump and do everything that's needed around you. And this is the fundamental of our life. In our life, if we do not do what we cannot do, no problem. But if we do not do what we can do, we are a disastrous life. And this is what is happening when there is no joy in your life. When joy is not a constant companion with you, when your life is not an expression of joy, then you will not even do what you can do because the fear of suffering. If you do not remove the fear of suffering, you will never walk full stride in your life, only half steps. What will happen to me, what will happen to me is all the issue. If you have an assurance that whatever happens with your life, this is how you will be. If this assurance was there, would you explore life in much more profoundness than the way you're doing right now? Yes or no? First of all, let's decide, have you come here to experience life or to dodge life? You must decide this. Because if you want to dodge life, you must jump into the lake. To be alive and to dodge life is very difficult. The best way to dodge life is to be dead, isn't it? Hello? If you want to avoid life, the best thing is to be dead. If you're alive and try to avoid life, it becomes misery. Yes or no? And you… see, let me ask you a simple question. When you were 5 years of age, how joyful and exuberant you were, and today how joyful and exuberant you are, has it gone up or gone down? Gone down. See, with age, physical agility may go down, but aliveness need not go down, isn't it? Aliveness is going down means like you do everything in installments, you're also committing suicide in installments, slowly killing yourself part by part. I'm saying you don't have to practice death, because death is super efficient. When it happens efficiently. You don't have to practice it from now on, will I do it properly or not? That problem is only with life. However we do life, there is still something more to do. There is still room for improvement, isn't it so? It doesn't matter how well you do it, is there still room for improvement? This is the problem of life. This is not a problem of death. You don't have to walk around with a grave face like that, like you're preparing. This posture will naturally come to you. If you don't get it, the undertaker will get you there. Suppose you die like this in ecstasy, he will anyway put you like this, otherwise you won't fit into the box. Do you have to practice this right now? Yes, this is happening. I was talking to a group of people at the Princeton University, a little over 250, 300 people, and I looked around, very grave-looking faces. Particularly in a university, I don't know if it's a weight of knowledge or something. Except a handful of young faces which looked bright and exuberant, rest were all like this. Then I asked, why are all these people over 30 years of age carrying such long faces? One lady stood up and said, they're all married. I thought people are getting married to multiply their joy. If they're getting married to multiply their misery, we need to make a law about this. If they're spreading misery in the world, there should be a law against it. Yes or no? Now, being joyful is not a consequence of the situations in which you exist. Being joyful is a consequence of how you are within yourself. Whether your system takes instructions from you or not. There are many ways to look at this. One thing is, today medical sciences are clearly telling you that your health and ill health is a question of chemistry. Yes? What is called as stress is one kind of chemistry, anxiety another kind of chemistry, depression another kind of chemistry, madness another kind of chemistry, agony one kind of chemistry, ecstasy another kind of chemistry. Every human experience has a chemical basis to it. Or in other words, this is a chemical soup, a very complex chemical soup. They are saying, I don't know who counted, anyway they are saying, per second, 37 followed by 21 zeros. That many chemical reactions are happening in your body. Just to give you a perspective, 12 zeros means a trillion. So 37 followed by 21 zeros, that many chemical reactions in this body per second. This is too complex a chemical soup, isn't it? The question is only, is it a great soup or a lousy soup? Yes? If I give all of you the same soup-making ingredients, Do you believe that all of you will come up with the same kind of soup? 2,000 varieties of soups will come, the same ingredients. That's all that's happened here. That's all that's happened here. All of us are fundamentally same life-making material. See in how many ways we made ourselves. Yes? Essentially same material, isn't it? So now the soup-making skills, there may be someone here, just instinctively, they turn out a great soup. But I'm asking you, is it possible that we can make a science of making a good soup? Yes or no? With a little observation and approach, can we understand how to make a good soup? Possible or no? Somebody may be just doing it out of individual flair, but if we work on it, we can definitely make a science of how to produce the best soup, isn't it? Similarly with this, if you pay enough attention to this, if you turn inward and notice the nature of your experience, the seat of your experience, the source of human experience is within you. If you take charge of that, you will create the kind of experience that you want. You already told me you want the highest level of pleasantness. To be peaceful, to be joyful, to be in a pleasant state of experience is something that everybody is seeking, isn't it? No, I'm not interested in all this, I want to go to heaven. Why you want to go to heaven? Because the advertisements have always said it's a very pleasant place. If they told you God lives in heaven but it's a horrendous place, would you want to go there, I'm asking you? No, it's a pleasant place. Anyway, what is in heaven? Shall we explore heaven a little bit? See, in Hindu heaven, food is very good. If you're a foodie, you must go to Hindu heaven. Best food. In another heaven, there are those white-gowned ladies floating in the clouds. If you like that kind of ambience, you must go there. If you go to another heaven, you will encounter virgin problems. If you like that, you can go there. But what is the qualification for you to get there? This happened in Alabama. The Sunday school teacher was going on full fire. The audience were not adults like you, they were tiny tots, 5-6-year-olds. Full fire. Sunday school teacher going in full enthusiasm. Then he asked with a booming voice, "What do you have to do to go to heaven?" Little Mary stood up and said, "If I scrub this church floor every Sunday, I will go to heaven." Absolutely. Another little girl stood up there and said, "If I share 50% of my pocket money with my less privileged friend, I will go to heaven." Correct. Another little boy stood up there and said, "If I help those who are in need, I will go to heaven." Correct. Little Tommy in the back bench stood up and said, "You gotta die first." You got to die first, isn't it? If you die, do you know all of you will die one day? It's not my wish, I'll bless you with a long life. But anyway, you will die one day, is it okay? Hello? Very important to know this, because most people think other people die. No, you and me will die. We don't want to die today, but we will die one day. Is that okay? It's not my wish, it'll anyway happen, okay? So if you die, depending on what culture you belong to, we'll either bury you, burn you or throw you to the birds. Yes? It's a very good thing because this body is just the soil of this planet that we picked it up, made it into food, ate it up and made it like this. One of the most ecological thing that you can do in your life is you put your body back into the earth. Yes, it's a good thing to do. In where we are, when somebody dies around us, I always make sure they're buried under a tree. And I always notice the next 2-3 months, the tree is having a party. It'll just burst forth with new vigor. So if anybody's feeling I'm worthless, I'm no use to anybody, don't have such fears. And if you have this fear of failure, if I fail, what will happen in this life? Believe me, nobody will fail, everybody shall pass. Nobody will be detained because you didn't do well. Anyway you shall pass, isn't it? Now, for the first time in the history of humanity, more human beings are beginning to think for themselves. For many millennia, your priest, pandit, guru, scripture, somebody else thought for you. For the first time, a huge number of people, a large segment of the population is beginning to think for themselves. Once you think for yourself, whatever comes towards you must be logically correct, otherwise you cannot swallow it. Yes or no? You're already having the struggles, isn't it? It must be logically correct, otherwise you cannot swallow it. If somebody thrusts it down your throat, you will have indigestion. If you don't dare to ask these questions, your children will definitely will. In the next 25 to 30 years' time, you will see heavens will collapse, because if you ask a few questions, it will collapse. In the sense, see, you lost your body here and then you went to heaven without a body. Once you don't have a body, what do you do with good food and virgins, I'm asking? These are all problems of the body, isn't it? You don't have a body. Where are you going to throw good food and how are you going to run after the virgins? I'm saying if you ask two, 3 questions, everything will collapse. Even if you don't have the courage to ask, the next generation is going to ask these questions. Once these questions asked, heavens will collapse. We have managed humanity like this for a long time. Human longing to experience something more, we always told them, don't worry, you are miserable here, it doesn't matter. When you get there, everything will be fantastic. Future generations will not buy this from you. They're not going to buy this. You notice your children won't buy this from you. Once heavens may collapse, but human longing to experience something more will not go. When this happens, you will see a large segment of the population moving towards chemical solutions. Already it's happening, big time in the world. In the last 25 to 30 years, the way the populations have moved towards chemicals to manage healthfulness, peacefulness, their joyfulness, they have moved towards chemicals in a big way. I was in New York City with a large group of people and I asked them, what percentage of people in New York City can sit quietly in the evening without even a glass of wine? I'm taking a glass of wine as minimum dose. A whole lot of people need many more things. They go into a debate and they say 5%. I said, okay. About 7 weeks ago I was in London, a very prominent group of people. I asked them, what percentage of people in London city can sit peacefully in the evening without even a glass of wine? They say less than 1%. 70% of the American population is on prescription medication. Another 30%, of course, buying things off the back street. See, either in individual life or in a society or in a nation, why is it that people seek affluence, ease? Affluence means, initially it means a choice of nourishment. Once that is over, it is a choice of lifestyle. This is the reason why people want affluence, isn't it? The most affluent nation on the planet which has an enormous choice of nourishment and lifestyles. 70% of the people are on prescription medication. Your healthcare budget is $3 trillion, it can sink a nation, all right? India's budget is $3 trillion for 1.25 billion people. For a quarter billion people, $3 trillion is the healthcare budget. This doesn't speak well of us. It looks like we know nothing about life. Yes or no? If you knew, when there is such a choice of nourishment and lifestyle, we should at least know how to keep ourselves healthful, peaceful, joyful, isn't it? No, we are whining like never before. Those 2-3 generations of this country which really strived to get you where you are today, it's an insult to those people. Their pants were torn because they worked so hard, but today you have to buy new pants and tear them up. It's okay, I have nothing against your fashion. All I'm saying is, for whatever reasons, America has arrived at a place where it has taken on a leadership position in the world, not just politically and militarily, but if you in America wear these blue trousers, half the world is wearing blue trousers, not even knowing why. If you tear up your pants, they're tearing up their pants, not knowing why. Even a kindergarten child today knows this body needs oxygen, but if you pump carbon dioxide into your bottle and say this is the real thing, half the world is drinking it. When you have such a privilege that people are looking up to you for some reason, you doing the right things becomes very, very important, isn't it? Even if you're living a wacky life, suppose you have a child in your house suddenly, when you see the child is looking up to you, if you have a little sense, you try to fix yourself. Why? Because somebody is looking up to you, isn't it? Isn't it so? Haven't many of you ironed out many things in your life after you had children? Because someone is looking up to you. In some way, the entire world is looking up to you. Unfortunately today, for the youth in the rest of the world, America means limitless alcohol, America means free drugs, America means free sexuality, America means wacky life. I want you to take this responsibility because privilege has to be complemented with responsibility, isn't it? That America means it must become a healthful life, America means a peaceful life, America means a joyful existence. America means a profound way of being. It is the responsibility of this generation to do it because the previous generation slogged, so that hoping that you will live well. But look at the mess we are creating. Yes? It's such a waste of their lives because they toiled 12, 16 hours a day, most of them toiled to build this nation so that future generations will live wonderfully well. But all we are doing is drugging ourselves, messing ourselves. Drug does not mean only that. 70% on prescription medication is not acceptable. It's not good. Maybe it's a great industry, but it's not good for human existence, isn't it? It is time we teach ourselves and our next generation that we must take charge of our experience. Our experience should be determined from within, isn't it? Oh, how do we get there? How long will it take? It's like this. Right now, the condition is like this. A man, you heard of Shankaran Pillai? Oh, I didn't know he was so popular. Shankaran Pillai was walking home. Those of you who don't understand, it's just a common name in India, John Smith. Okay. Shankaran Pillai was walking home and he looked at his watch, it's only 9 o'clock. His wife's rules are 9:30 he must be back home. He thought there's still time. So he walked into the local bar and he thought he'll have a quick drink and go home. So he went into the bar, he had a quick drink and a quick drink and a quick drink and a quick drink and a quick drink. Then he looked at his watch. It's at 2 a.m. You know, drinking people are like yogis, they're timeless. Then he wanted to rush home and he tried to rush home and he found a shortcut and was going through a garden, but then he fell headlong into a rose bush. His face became a mess. He gathered himself and somehow reached home. You know those damn keyholes, how small they've made them? He struggled, it took 20 minutes to find the damn thing. And then somehow he opened and crawled up to the bedroom. Fortunately, the wife was a big sleeper. So he slowly crawled in, went into the bathroom, looked at his face, it was a total mess. So he opened the medicine cabinet, applied medicine, took out Band-Aid, this, that, fixed himself up, slowly crawled into the bed and slept off. Morning 8 o'clock, the wife took a bucket of cold water and splashed it on him. He woke up waterboarded. He said, why, it's only Sunday? She said, you fool, once again drinking? He said, honey, 6 months ago I promised you. Since then I haven't touched a drop. She grabbed him by the shirt and dragged him into the bathroom and showed him. All the plaster was in the mirror. So right now, this is the approach. You want to be happy, fix the world. You want to be happy, fix this person. You want to be happy, fix that person. No. You want to be truly joyful, you got to fix this person, isn't it? Hello? Yes. Because human experience is coming from within. Oh, how long will it take? Someone came looking for Isha Yoga Center in southern India. I'm sorry. They came to I'm sorry. They came to a local village and they saw a young boy there and asked him, how far is Isha Yoga Center? He said, it is 24,996 miles. They said, what, that far? He said, yeah, the way you're going, if you turn around, it's 4 miles. What is inside, if you seek it outside, it's an endless journey. What is inside, you must seek it inside, isn't it? Is it true that human experience is generated from within? Hello? But now you have no faculties to turn inward. The 5 faculties of perception that you have, which is seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching, through which you know the world, all of them are outward bound. You can see what's around you, you can't roll your eyeballs inward and scan yourself. You can hear this, so much activity, you cannot hear it. Even if an ant crawls upon this hand, you can feel it. So much blood flowing, you cannot feel it. In the very nature of things, all your sense organs are outward bound. This is the fundamental predicament of the human being. Human experience is caused from within, but your perception is all outward bound. If you want to turn inward, it will take a little bit of striving. This book, this Yogi's Guide to Joy, this book or this inner engineering is about simple methods with which you can turn inward. I know you're not willing to invest separate time for turning inward because you have to still conquer the world and many worlds. Because on your phone you may be seeing the entire cosmos and you need to conquer all that. So, 24 tools through which you can turn inward without allotting specific times for them. You're driving, you can use one tool. You're working in your office, you can use another tool. You're walking in the street, you can use another tool. Simple things, simple aspects of life, making them tools for transformation. This is what this book is. This is my continuing effort to at least improve upon my failures a little bit. My plan was in 3 years I will make the world ecstatic. I'm nowhere near that. So please please make yourself into little more joyful human beings, if not for yourself, out of charity towards me. Because I want to live in a joyful world. What about you, huh? If you were given a choice between living and working with joyful people or miserable people, what is your choice? I want you to please remember, everybody else is expecting the same thing. They also want to live with joyful beings, isn't it? So this is the best thing you can do to yourself and the world around you, that at least you're a pleasant life. What great things you will do in your life or not, that is subject to various realities. Whether you'll climb Mount Everest or not, we do not know. Will you run faster than Mr. Bolt or not, we do not know. Will you become the richest man in the world or not, we do not know. Will you dominate all the gangs in Chicago or not, we do not know. Because all these things are subject to various realities. But you being a pleasant piece of life is 100% in your hands if you take charge of it. This much you must do. This is the best thing you can do to yourself and people, those fortunate or unfortunate people who are around us. Yes? Every day, about 250,000 people die on this planet. Natural death, nearly that much goes. Tomorrow morning, if you wake up, see, 250,000 people won't wake up tomorrow morning. If you wake up, don't take this for granted, because this is not going to be there forever. I want you to understand, before you and me came here, countless number of people walked this planet. You think they were all idiots, that's why they died? Hello? They were also smart people like you and me, isn't it? Where are they now? All topsoil. This will also become topsoil unless somebody chooses to bury you real deep, fearing you may rise from the dead. I'm saying this is a brief happening. Life is a limited amount of time, it's a limited lease of time. Have you noticed this? On a particular day you are very joyful, 24 hours, poof, went off like a moment. Yes or no? Another day you're a little depressed, 24 hours feel like an eon. Yes or no? So what I'm saying is, only miserable people have a long life. If you're joyful, it gets over before you know what happened. If you're ecstatic, it'll go off in a blink. Yes. Now, being joyful is not the goal. It is a most fundamental requirement. If you wake up in the morning, if there is no joy in you, you will get this profoundly stupid question, to be or not to be. Yes? Yes or no? Every life on the planet, you try to catch one little worm somewhere, will the worm think, oh, I'm just a worm, let me die? Do you think so? It will do everything possible to live, isn't it? This is so with every life, so is this true with this one. But simply because human beings have been endowed with a certain level of cerebral activity and most people never learned how to handle this activity, now they're getting these idiotic things about, they're going against their own life. Your mind should serve this life, yes or no? Right now it's turning against. Unhappiness means you have turned against your own life. Depression means you have turned against your own life. Anxiety means you turned against your own life. Stress means you turned against your own life. There is only one problem with you. You just do not know how to handle your own intelligence. This is all the problem, isn't it? If you lop off half your brain, you will sit peacefully. Yes or no? What is the greatest gift that we have has become a problem in your life. This is because we did not establish a stable enough platform for this kind of intelligence. Isn't it time we enjoy this intelligence rather than suffering it? Yes? It took millions of years of evolutionary work to get you this sized brain. Yes or no? But now most human beings are suffering it. You can give as many exotic names to your suffering as you want. But essentially it's just this. You do not know how to handle your own intelligence. That's all your problem is. If nobody is poking you, you'll poke yourself. Yes? If you take off half the brain, then you will sit peacefully. But is that a solution? Because nobody took off your brain, you're trying to drown it in alcohol, you're trying to drug it down, you're trying to do so many other things to somehow quell it. Should we control this mind or liberate this mind, please? We need to liberate this mind, isn't it? What this needs is liberation, not control, because nature has allowed this to happen to us. For every other creature, nature has drawn two lines within which they live and die. For the human being, there is only bottom line, there is no top line. So what you are suffering is, you are not suffering your bondage as many of your Indians, as people have been telling you, you're suffering your bondage. No, you are suffering your freedom. If your life was fixed like that of an earthworm, you would also live peacefully, eaten well, reproduced well, died well, isn't it? Only because you're free to be any way you want. This is your struggle, isn't it? Entire life goes not knowing how to be. Fundamental thing is that this is a pleasant life. Once this happens, you are free to explore life whichever way you want because there is no fear of suffering. If you take charge of the seat of your experience, this is what inner engineering is about, to take charge of the seat of your experience. If you take charge of the seat of your experience, this is the end of suffering. If you sit here, your body will be here, your mind will be here, what is you will be elsewhere. Once there is a little space between you and your body, between you and your mind, this is the end of suffering because you know only two kinds of suffering in your life, physical and mental. Do you know any other kind of suffering? Is it true that you gathered this body over a period of time, with Chicago pizza or whatever? This is a heap of food, this is a heap of impressions. What you gather can be yours, but can never ever be you, isn't it? So the problem is this, we are just living here or trying to live here without knowing a thing about the nature of our existence. Inner engineering means these are tools for self-transformation so that you turn inward. Turning inward is not about dissecting the body. Turning inward is not about contemplation of your mind. Turning inward means going beyond these two accumulated heaps of body and mind. We normally have a few minutes of meditation, is it okay? Yes. We've crossed the time though. Oh, time is 9:30, is it? Oh. Can I trust you with your eyes closed? When we use the word meditation, in English language, the word meditation doesn't specify anything, doesn't say anything specific. If you sit with your eyes closed, they will say you're meditating. With your eyes closed, there are many things you can do. You can do japa, tapa, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, samyama, shunya, or you might have just mastered the art of sleeping in vertical postures. So it doesn't specify anything. So let me kind of put some kind of background for you. Meditation is not an act. It is not something that you can do. You cannot meditate, but you can become meditative because it's a quality. It is like you want to have flowers in your garden. You don't have to go sit in the garden and pull flowers out of a plant, it'll never come like that. If you want flowers in your garden, you don't have to think flowers. You have to think soil, manure, water, sunlight. If you manage these things well, flowers will come. Similarly, if you cultivate your body, your mind, your emotion and your energies to a certain level of maturity, the fragrance of meditation will live with you every moment of your life. So it's not an act, it is a quality. But being very goal-oriented people these days, we only want the fruit, we don't want the tree. Slowly your children are believing fruits come from the supermarket. So, we don't have the time to cultivate body, mind, emotion, energy now. So today your meditation is on the house. Only thing is, you must follow a few simple instructions, okay? Those in the upper regions. So you sit with your hands open like this. If you sit with your face slightly upturned and close your eyes, you will notice your attention will be mildly focused naturally between your eyebrows. Just try that and see. Those of you wearing spectacles, if you can keep it aside, please. With a slightly upturned face, eyes closed, notice a mild focus between your eyebrows. Hold that focus. Hold the focus between your eyebrows with a slightly upturned face and be conscious of the natural movement of breath. Do not try to breathe in any particular way, just the natural movement of breath. Your mental focus is between your eyebrows, but you're conscious of the natural movement of breath. Hold the focus between your eyebrows and be conscious of the natural movement of breath.
நான் உணர்ந்தால் தான் நீன் இருப்பேன், நீன் மறந்தால் நான் இருப்பேன். நான் உணர்ந்தால் தான் நீன் இருப்பேன், நீன் மறந்தால் நான் இருப்பேன். உயிர் மலர்ந்தால் தான் உன் இறைவன், அருள் மலர்ந்தால் நீதான் இறைவன். உயிர் மலர்ந்தால் தான் உன் இறைவன், அருள் மலர்ந்தால் நீதான் இறைவன். மண்ணாயிருந்து மலரானே, மனிதனானவன் மண்ணானான். மண்ணாயிருந்து மலரானே, மனிதனானவன் மண்ணானான். மலர் கொடிக்கெல்லா வேர் மூலம் உன் உயிர் மலர்ந்துக்கு நான் மூலம். உன் உயிர்க்கெதுக்கு பொன் செல்வம், தேவையானது உயிர் நோக்கம். உயிர் நோக்கம் வெறும் உயிர் நோக்கம், உயிர் நோக்கம் வெறும் உயிர் நோக்கம். ஆசையு கோவமும் தெரியாத நோக்கம், பற்றும் பாவமும் அறியாத நோக்கம். அன்பும் ஆனந்தம் நிறைஞ்ச நோக்கம், உயிர் நோக்கம் வெறும் உயிர் நோக்கம். உயிர் மலர்ந்தால்தான் உன் மோக்ஷம்.
Sit with a slightly upturned face, maintaining focus between your eyebrows. Be conscious of the natural movement of breath. Holding this focus between the eyebrows and being conscious of the breath. Open your eyes just 5%. Partially opening your eyes, just 5% opening of the eyes. Maintain the focus between your eyebrows and be conscious of the natural movement of breath. Maintaining the focus between your eyebrows and being conscious of the natural movement of breath. Open your eyes 10%. Hold the focus between your eyebrows and be conscious of the breath. And keep your eyes about 10% open. Maintain the focus between your eyebrows, the slightly upturned face, and be aware of the moment of breath, incoming breath and outgoing breath, and slowly open your eyes about 25%. Take your own time. Take your own time and slowly, very slowly, please open your eyes. I was also supposed to answer a few unanswered questions. If there is a question without being answered, you can't go to sleep tonight. If there is a burning question, just one question we'll handle, please. Please take the microphone, whoever. Where's the microphone, please? Please take the microphone. Here. The lady with the microphone, you must look for her raised hands. Hey, what's the matter?
Namaskaram, Sadhguru. There is so much for this country to take into consideration as we head into this election. So many issues. To name a few, it's economic challenges, refugee humanitarian efforts, this racial tensions, and we can go on and on and on. Even the strife between the presidential campaign is so tense. What guidance can you give us in this era now?
You're getting me into the political morass. So we must understand this. Fundamentally, democracy means, the equivalent word in southern Indian languages, in Tamil, democracy means jananayakam. This means the rule of the people. Democracy means that. It is not that you're electing a ruler, you're electing a representative who'll rule on your behalf. That's what democracy means. But this will be a functional democracy only when every individual votes according to their individual choice. I'm saying this across the world, particularly in America. Now we have become two tribes. The parties are no more parties, they're tribes. My grandfather was a Democrat, my father was a Democrat, so I am one, or the other Republican, I am one. You are creating two tribes. If you vote on tribal loyalties, this is feudalistic system. In a democratic garb, it's no use. Democracy means every time your vote is a considered vote, not a committed vote. If you have a committed vote already, this is no good democracy. It will not function as a democracy. But unfortunately, I see most of America is already committed. Committed vote means no democracy. Democracy means a considered vote. So it is not about whom to elect. What is it that you want? And who is going to make that happen? That is the question. This is the time. Some of the things that you mentioned, one of the biggest concerns right now is this: what will America be for the rest of the world also? Because I have seen that, for example, in India, people who are watching American elections with as much interest as they would watch their own elections. But this time with a little bit of amusement, unfortunately. Why they're watching this is because in some way, people are believing that whoever gets elected will be, in some sense, leader of the world. When such a privilege is put upon us, it's very important. One important thing for America is, this is a nation which has grown and flourished on individual enterprise. We have to focus on that. If this has to happen, what needs to happen in the country? We suddenly change track into something else and we think by getting into a mess all over the world, this will become better. No, this will not become better that way. I always wonder, I even spoke to one of your past presidents, And when I mentioned this, he said, this is our aim next time. But it's always next time. The thing is, see for example, America has gotten into many warlike situations or wars, where it's destroyed a few nations. Right now in the last 15 years, in our own lifetime, I always look back on World War I and World War II and wondered, how did the people of the time allow this to happen? That kind of atrocity. But in our own times, it is happening and we're allowing it to happen because we think it's not our business, but when it comes to our doorstep, it will become our business. And when it'll become our business, we don't know. Tomorrow morning, we don't know who is going to explode where. Instead of sending 150,000 soldiers and spending $1 trillion in Middle East, if you had sent out 150,000 engineers, doctors, business experts, variety of people, instead of investing $1 trillion, 1/10 of that if you had invested, you could have… the world would have loved you and it would be yours anyway. There are two ways to get the world. One is by conquest, another is by inclusion and embrace. Time has come where conquering the world is over. It's an old… it is a thought from the graveyards of the past. It is not a futuristic thought. Future does not belong to those who want to conquer. Future belongs to those who will include. If America strives to include rather than to mess around with all the problems in the world, see, just a simple thing I'm telling you. There are estimates, the United Nations has made these estimates. They say something like if you spend $12 to $15 billion a year, $12 to $15 billion, you can nourish every child on the planet till they're 6 years of age. I'm saying if you do this, will the world love you? If you spend another $10–15 billion per year, you can educate every child in impoverished society. The amount of skill that you will develop in the world and the level of loyalty that you will have, this nation has been built by importing skills from everywhere, isn't it? Isn't it important you cultivate skill everywhere in the world, invest in that, rather than bombing it out? So these policies have come from the past, from the fear that was there in the past. The world has changed. It is a privilege, it is a tremendous possibility that today there is only one really major power on the planet. This is the time to change the language on the planet. This is the time to shift the world from war to well-being. America has this responsibility, and you as people and citizens of the nation, you must demand this is what you want. Two or three simple things you must ask them to promise, who is going to do it? They will get the vote, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. See, it is not a person that you're electing, it's an office. In Tamil language, there is a saying about selecting the kings in the past. When it comes to a king, Nallavan venuma, Vallavan venuma, it means, do you want a good man or do you want a capable man? So when it comes to the leader, we want a capable person. It is for you to decide who is capable on an individual basis, not because you belong to a Republican tribe or a Democratic tribe. Tribal warfare is not considered democracy. The beauty of democracy is power can shift, running a nation. In the past, if the power has to shift, blood had to flow. Yes or no? From one king to another, if it has to shift, lot of blood had to flow. Now democracy means, the beauty of democracy is we can shift power gracefully without a drop of blood dropping. That is the beauty of it. But this will be only functional when you have a considered oath, not when you have a committed oath. So you must put across not too many things, 2 or 3 things that must happen for this nation. And say, ask them before the next debate, you have a social media, you can reach them. There was a time you couldn't reach them, now you can reach them. You ask them who is going to make a commitment that they will not open a new theater of war in the world. We have enough of that stuff going. America will not open up a new theater of war. There are other ways to address problems on the planet. And America will invest in well-being, not in war. The amount of money that's being invested in the war machine is unnecessary. This comes from the Cold War times when there are two big guns. Now one gun has collapsed. This is the time to shift the world from war to well-being. And this is the way the future and future prosperity of this nation and every other nation on the planet can be assured, is that everybody invests in each other's well-being in different ways. That is the only way that we will not continue to fight, because we cannot afford to fight in future, because we are not fighting with sticks and swords anymore. We are fighting with that kind of weapons where nobody can win, isn't it? Not only nobody can win, nobody can exist at the end of the fight. When we are in that kind of capability, we must understand that our fundamental way of handling the world should move from investing in war to investing in well-being of the world. Just get this promise from them, who is going to do it, and let them get the vote. But it must be your individual considered vote. You should not vote as a tribe. And oh, you still have questions?
I can speak without using myself.
But there are people in the upper regions. It's okay, but we will leave the question.
Mine is not a question more, it is a quest. It is a seeking. Sadhguru, this body we get from the cosmos,
Oh, really?
emerges out of the cosmos,
Oh, really?
lives in the cosmos.
I got my body from this planet. I don't know about yours.
So you will be able to solve my problem. Yes. We give it back to the cosmos. Then what is it that we say, I'm not the body, I'm not this body, I'm not the mind. And what is that is roasted in a hell, goes to heaven, enjoy food, or gets born as a plant, animal, or a Shudra,
That's
or
fine.
Brahman,
Okay.
or like an…
It's a long… I'll come.
Now I know you can solve it. Thank you.
Now, first let's understand this. See, one thing is, there are lots of assumptions in everybody's mind. We have started believing so many things. This is the first thing we have to come to. Can all of you come to this much sincerity in your life? What I know, I know. What I do not know, I do not know. Is it okay? Hello? But right now the problem is, whatever we do not know, we assume. And then we believe. And we will gather 100 people around us who believe the same thing. And once 100 people gather and another 100 people believe something else, we will fight. This has been going on, isn't it? I'm saying, shall we become this much straight? What I know, I know. What I do not know, I do not know. Is it okay? I do not know is an immense possibility. Only if you see I do not know, the longing to know, the seeking to know, and the possibility of knowing becomes a reality. Otherwise, everything that you do not know, you will believe. And believe me, if we work hard enough on you, we can make you believe just about anything. Yes or no? This happened in New York City. An 8-year-old boy came back from school and he had a very progressive mother at home. Obviously, she was single. He came home one day and asked, "Mama, is God man or woman?" She thought about all the gender politics involved in this, and then she came out with a answer and she said, "Both." He went into deep thought. After some time he came back and asked, "Mama, is God black or white?" Again she thought about all the racial politics involved in the country, and after much consideration she came back and she said, "Both." Then he went into very deep thought. After some time he came back and asked, "Mama, is God straight or gay?" She thought about all the politics involved with that aspect and then she said, "Both." The boy jumped in joy, I got it, it's Michael Jackson." How we draw these conclusions is up to us, but why can't we be straight enough? What I know, what I do not know, I do not know. If you see, I do not know, you will have an active, living intelligence. If you believe things that you do not know, you will come to a dead end within yourself. If you want a living, active intelligence which is constantly looking, then you must see that whatever you know is just a minuscule in this cosmos, isn't it? Yes or no? How much ever we know, it is just a speck in this cosmos. And if you see almost nothing in this universe you really know, including yourself, you will remain a constant, active intelligence. This is the way to be. A living intelligence, not a concluded intelligence. Conclusion means death. Yes? So what will happen after this? Some things you know best only by experience. What will happen after death? You will know only by experience. But life is like this right now. Life is just this. See, there is a wonderful suspense thriller going on in one of the local theaters right now. None of you have seen the movie. I have. Shall I tell you the story? She doesn't want. The entire story will take too much time. The last suspense part I will tell you 2 minutes. No, you don't want. Why? Because you want to experience the suspense. What is experiencing the suspense? You went there, saw that poster, oh, this director, this actor, maybe this will happen, mind will project. Then you will go inside, see those still images, oh, this guy will do this, that guy will do that, mind will do more projections. You go and sit in the auditorium, you watch the first few scenes, oh, this will happen, you made a prediction, it went wrong. That will happen, you made a prediction, it went wrong. One more prediction, went wrong. Then you consult with your friend and say, last scene is definitely going to be like this. When the last scene came, something totally different happened. Then you come out and say, wow, what a wonderful movie. If all your predictions go wrong, it is wonderful. Then I'm asking you, what's wrong with your life? Only problem is you lost you have lost the ability to enjoy suspense. You don't have a heart to enjoy suspense. Little suspense means this will palpitate. Little more suspense means this will crack up. It is very important that you have a heart to enjoy this suspense. But anyway, today I'm going to relieve the suspense for you, and the last scene in your life is you're going to be dead. Till then, till that moment comes, how alive, how joyful, how exuberant are you with this life? How alive are you? This is the only question. So tomorrow morning if you wake up, if you're still alive, you must give yourself a big smile, okay? Hello? What is the greatest thing about your life? You're alive right now, isn't it? Everything else is secondary. Not your wealth, not your money, not your business, not your family. The greatest thing right now is you're alive right now. If you come alive tomorrow morning, will you give yourself a big smile? Yes. If you're dead, I will excuse you, okay? If nearly 250,000 people died, at least 2 to 3 million people lost somebody who is dear to them, isn't it? You check those handful of people who matter to you, all of them alive today. Will you give yourself one more big smile? Hello? Right now it's 10 o'clock. You're still alive. Will you give yourself one more big smile? Every time Every time you check the time, I want you to understand, it is not the clock ticking away, it's your life ticking away, isn't it? This is your life ticking away. Now you must promise me, at least every time when you look at the time, if you're still alive, you must give yourself a big smile. Let's make it happen. I will come and spend a little time with all of you, and if you want the book signed, I'll come back and sign it here for you, okay?